All right, guys, welcome to another fun-filled edition of Overshot, a paintball podcast. Real quick, we're going to run through the sponsors that have been generous to help us out on this episode, on every episode. First one, Dizana Sports, makers of the Grind Air gloves, the SF joggers. We're going to get our Overshot factory jerseys and joggers in this week. So some of the kids are going to be playing a tournament this weekend, rocking that stuff out. And then the next one is Volcano Sports. They make those sick new backpacks that everyone's doing. You know, we're from the Northeast. It rains, it snows, it gets sludgy. You're not rolling those gear bags through that mud. So definitely pop that backpack on and be able to walk to the field and not have your gear bag stuck in the mud. So again, Volcano USA, use code OVERSHOT10 for 10% off. But without further ado, we're going to start it off with Josh, maybe NYX, not NYX, former NYX. I used to somewhat be on NYX, but we're going to start it off with Josh, and we're going to kind of start it off actually with that. I know you were on NYX. So what ended up happening that you were off NYX? I know you got released in the off season, and now you're back with them. So first talk about what ended up happening when you left NYX, and then what got you on back now.
All right, so I never really got like a solid answer, but I mean the long and short of it is it's Bo's call if he wants to run with less bodies, which it's what it felt like is what needed to go on there. We had a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of big mouths to feed, and over the last couple of seasons, I didn't get in that much. I was averaging something like 3 or 4 points a tournament, so I totally get it, and obviously times are tough, it's expensive out there, so if you don't need the extra body there, you think you can run it with whatever they had. I think it was seven or 8 guys, something like that. That's the choice they want to make. You go for it, and there was no hard feelings there. It was fine. I'm not gonna stop playing paintball. I'm not gonna quit over it. It's all still my boys. So I did Vegas with Wolfpack. Shout out to those guys. They brought me in for that. That was fun. Got to play a whole bunch of paintball at that event. And then COVID hit and it all went to shit. And I was where I live now. I'm right in between where Battle Creek is and where CCZ is, where the NYX guys play. And Battle Creek is always fun to play, but it's only one field and there's a ton of bodies playing on it. So if you're not there if you're not there with a whole team full of people, it's going to be hard for you to get on the field. So I was more often than not heading up to CCZ to play with them, and then I just was playing with them every weekend. That's usually how it goes. You play with the people that you're familiar with.
So now with that being said, Josh, I know you guys, and this is another thing I want to get into, are coming off that great state tournament. Just kind of go into what that event was like, representing New York. I know it was a lot of the NYX guys, Frank from Revo, and then you guys even flew in Keith Brown for the event.
Keith repping New York as well. Yeah, that was a great time. I didn't get to play the last one, and I did take a whole bunch of shit because I'm from Connecticut. I've only been in New York the last 10 years, but how am I going to not play with my boys? So I'm going to not do that. So I ended up playing with New York, which was fun, other than the fact that they wouldn't let us drink beers like everybody else was doing. Everybody else having a good time and hanging out, but it was a good time. We got a whole bunch of lame penalties in the first match. It was literally 6 or 7 penalties in the first game, and then it kind of toned down after that. But and then we had, let's see, I don't even remember the rest of it. We had one to keep us alive against Massachusetts, where we had a very questionable call. That was like the one time the call went in our favor to keep us alive, and we ended up winning that game. And then we lost to Revo to Maryland, because in typical New York fashion, we're just going to whip our dicks out and fucking run at you. And they've been playing this really slow, calculated, really, I mean, it was what the field called for, and they were playing it the right way. It was slow and boring to watch and play against, but we kept running at them. They kept shooting us. We just kept doing it over and over. We didn't adapt. So then we got to watch them play in finals, and they did the same thing again, and that's how they won. They won doing the same thing.
No, and that Maryland team has been together, playing these events kind of, I know they just played the Long Live 7-man against Robbie and the Bears. We were there actually. We put a team in, we got fourth. We won the first one, and then I think people realized like, oh, it's an open event. So then, Revo came, and then, the Bears came back. So a lot of the pros came in and everything like that, but it was a good event. So now I know you said you're originally from Connecticut. You grew up around like Matt's Outback and stuff like that.
I grew up on the other side of Connecticut, but once I went to college at Eastern Connecticut State University, which is right down the road. UConn and Eastern are right near each other. That's like 15 minutes from Outback. And then when I got kicked off campus, I lived in Coventry, and off campus housing there, and it was 10 minutes down the road. So I was there every weekend, like clockwork. It was a big factor in where I am now, because I could play whenever I wanted, dawn to dusk.
Yeah, exactly. But so like before that, like how did paintball find you? Like when did you start playing? Was it the typical birthday party, shooting some dudes up in the woods?
Typical birthday party with a little twist. So it actually was like a couple of weeks until my birthday. I think it was my 12th or 13th birthday, something like that. And I happened to be watching, there's a show on MTV called Daria, which is a spinoff from Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah,
And
I'm old. I'm 33. I know what you're talking about.
There you go. Although there's an episode of that show where the high school goes to a paintball field, and the stars lined up. Literally, my mom was like, "Hey, what are you going to do for your birthday?" And I happened to be literally watching that at the time, and I was like, "I want to go play paintball." And my family, of course, again, typical paintball story, were very anti-guns. There, she was like, "No, hell no, we're not doing that." And we ended up going out with a few of my friends. We all had a great time that summer. We all ended up getting paintball guns and starting to play in the woods. And but there wasn't really a field nearby there. I think the closest one was a place called Final Shot Paintball over in Ballin. It was like a campground that had a field at it, and that was actually the first time that I'd seen Team No Name there. I saw Matt and Tom back when they were like they were stepping all over everybody. And
yeah, that's so funny.
And I went there, and as soon as I saw that was what I wanted to do. I was like, the woods are fun, you can always go out and run around in the woods, but once I saw like the competitive aspect of it, that was that was it.
No, sick. So like what was like your like first team that you were on? So you saw that, like, so you obviously had to start forming a team to get guys to play on. So how did that like kind of formulate?
Oh man, so there was a couple of kids that I played with that were in my high school, and then I can't even remember how we fell into it, but it was a kid who it was a friend of a friend who was pretty good, and they had their own team somewhere, and they had put in a 3-man team at an event at Matt's, and I remember it because I got dropped off at his house, and then rode in the back of like a pickup truck, and I can still to this day remember it because I was like, I'm laying on the back of this pickup truck, and I could feel that we're going over dirt roads. And anybody who's been to Matt's knows that it's like up the hill, and it's bouncing all over the place. So now I can still, every time I go up that road, I can still remember it. When we went out to Outback and got our asses kicked, but it was a lot of fun. And
that's how you get better.
So that's how you get. That's the only way you get better, is by losing. And then I think I played another one at like, I don't know. We had a couple of other like little things around local events. First Nationals probably 2005. I think it was MAO 2005 or 2006 in South Carolina. And then I pretty much was playing an event or two a year after that. And it wasn't until the last, I mean, I'm gonna date myself now. It wasn't until the last like 10 years or so that I've been trying to play every single event. I couldn't really make every event. I would play like the MAO and play cup. I haven't missed a cup in like 10 years, something like that. So I could base it on that.
Wow. So that being said, I guess you're going to keep the streak going, right?
I'm hoping to. I don't want to, that's
yeah. That's the plan, right? That's the
trying
plan.
times right now, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
No, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be a go. Hopefully everything is safe, and I mean, it'll be good to see some paintball again. I mean, I'm excited.
I was really excited to get out to do the Ohio event last two weeks ago. And then I'm just now started to like go back and rewatch the footage now. I really like what they did with the camera, with the zip line down the middle. I hope that they go along a similar route for Cup.
No, me too. I think how they make it palatable for people is definitely like affects viewership, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, every time I try to show somebody, I mean, actually when I the one that went on to YouTube, I wasn't going to go through the time code and Go Sports and try to send it over to my parents to make them watch it. And they damn sure aren't going to watch it live. So I like the one that came up on YouTube. I sent that over to them, and they're like, "Wow, it's actually like a really good way to do it. It's a little bit easier to follow, and you can follow a team like the way they're looking at it. You see their paint in the air, you see everything." So.
Right. The closer they make it to football and bigger sports, the better off it's going to be.
Yeah, even if you're only on, I mean, with split deck, it's a little bit confusing no matter what. But like, if you're behind a team, you can kind of see what they're doing, even if you're only really spotting one team at a time.
I know everybody hates the split deck, but I think it's like being a dead horse.
We all
know.
Yeah.
We all know though it's got to be done though for time constraints. Unfortunately,
there's too many teams playing. Yeah, if you want the league to be as big as it is, you're going to run a split deck. There's no way around it.
Right. I mean, it does stink, but if you know paintball, you like, I get it. You know,
yeah,
like I do understand.
Yeah, I can follow it. I mean, the one thing that the league could do to to make it a little bit easier is to just get rid of the dark paint. Just kill the dark 100%. Paint, make it bright paint so everybody can see it. I mean, I can follow it, but like, and you know, I'm always going to watch it. I've been watching paintball content since War Pig, where like you're not seeing anything, you're seeing 240p. Yeah.
But it's not about us. Like we're going to watch regardless because we love it. It's about making it easier for the people that are like on the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my girlfriend's not the biggest fan of paintball or whatever, but I got home from lunch and we're talking about it because the BKI video came out today. Everyone's talking about it. And I was like, I'm going to go watch Sunday Drivers again, you know, with Matty Marshall, that epic speech. And even my girl was like, what are you watching? I was like, I'm watching Sunday Drivers. She's like, oh, can we watch that later? That sounds epic. I was like, absolutely, we can watch Sunday Drivers.
That. That's a keeper.
Yeah, exactly. But she doesn't play, or like, you know, she knows I play, but she doesn't, like, she's not really interested. But she heard that, like, and that's what has to be for everybody. It's got to be this person watches it for 5 seconds and it's like, look at all these pink beams flying across the screen. Oh,
I mean, I can't remember. I mean, it must have been a friend of mine had it or something. I have no idea how I got my hands on it, but the first time that I saw somebody must have bought it. Somebody bought the VHS of it of Push, and I remember watching that and just over and over and over again because it's. I mean, I really wish that somebody would make a film like that again, where it's not, you know, where you're either following around individual players like Serial Killers or one of those, or like you're following a season all the way through. I mean, it's obviously there's not a lot of money in it, but that's right. That would be a great thing to bring back. Good throwback.
No, there's so much possibilities in paintball content. I think they should bring back all of it because storylines are what really sells, you know. So we can get people invested in teams and stuff like that. Like that's the biggest thing I tell people with this podcast is like, yeah, I love paintball, and there's a couple teams I like the Iron Man. It kind of been like my favorite team since I started watching whatever. But every single person, like, I mean, yeah, stop shaking your head. They're my favorite team. But like we had Joe Barrett, and like I wasn't like jumping off the ceiling for Sacramento DMG, but the dude was super cool, and I'm like, bro, I'm a fan. I'm gonna watch all your games now. I'm gonna watch all your games.
Oh yeah, Joe's a good guy.
Oh yeah,
known him for a while.
Oh yeah, he's got history with you guys because he's from this area. I'm sure we talked about it with him and stuff. And of course, you guys are, you know, I love NYX, the local guys. You got to root.
You got to root for the local guys. Most of them. No matter how much they break your heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. If we're going to get to football, I'm a hardcore Jets fan. It's devastating this season. I've decided I'm not going to watch any more games. I can't do that to myself. But so you're practicing at Max. Like you're saying your first national was like MAO. What team were you playing on when you played MAO?
That was a team called Hartford Hardcore, with a bunch of kids that were at Outback. And so this was shortly before the economy went to shit and the sport almost died.
Yeah.
And we were playing because No Name was still a thing. This was towards, so I mean, this is all a New England paintball thing, but at the time, Hogan's Alley and No Name were the two teams from the area, and they were back and forth. and we couldn't. I mean, at the time, we couldn't even get on the field. You know, we put together a bunch of kids. I think at the time, I can't even remember. A bunch of really good people came through. That's where I met Zaleski and Pike, because Zaleski was on the UConn team at the time with Brian Richards, a bunch of older, a bunch of the old guys. And eventually it just sort of merged once the economy went to shit. There was just nobody at Outback. We would just be the only people there. And so we sort of just became TNN, and it kind of just grew from there. So and then the AXBL happened, and we were playing with TNN for that. Did a couple nationals. It wasn't until what was that? It wasn't for a while that we actually won something. but
hey man, winning a paintball event is hard, man.
It's
super hard.
It's impossible to explain how hard it is, because literally everything has to go your way. They're like, it's not. I mean, obviously, there's hard work and talent and skill and teamwork and all that fun stuff. But like, paint. So many things. Yeah, the paint has to be shooting right. And well, that's what actually. I mean, it sounds. If somebody told me this, I would say it sounded like bullshit. But when we at that event, it was in Jersey at Top Gun. It was the one with the two snakes, and we had this. We did the exact same breakout every single point the entire tournament, and it was, I think the only thing that switched was I always played to my right hand, and my buddy Noah, who was on the team, always played to his left hand. So I would go to the right snake, I'd go to the left snake, and we just kept doing it over and over again. And we found a good breakout. Nobody could beat it. We went through it the entire event, and then Sunday morning we woke up and it was downpouring rain. And the 2 weekends prior to that, we were the only people playing because it was fucking downpouring rain out. And I woke up and I went outside and I was like, we're going to win this tournament. Like I knew it as the moment I woke up that morning that we were going to win the tournament. And then we finally got to the end of the match. And then I was like, well, now what? So we won D3. I was like, well, we could have, I was like, the way we were playing at that event, I'm not going to say we could have beaten all the way up to pro, but we could have beaten a division higher than us the way we were playing at that event.
You guys were on it.
Yeah,
that event was nuts, man. That was what, 2011 or something like that.
I think it was 2011. Yeah, with a young up and comer named Pat Kraft, playing to the X every single point.
You guys had a couple guys come out, right? Didn't Greg from Thunder come out from TNN, right?
Yep.
Didn't you? A lot of you guys came from TNN, and a lot of guys that still kind of play the ops and play the Fox balls and the NEPLs.
Yep,
still had, playing this day.
Yeah, Pike played with us. Zaleski played with us. Greg. Who else? It's still playing. There's a ton of people who play with us, but I'm not sure who else is still went up higher. I think I'm gonna forget somebody.
Well, I mean, dude, you name some pros, dude. You know, and Pat Kraft was there.
Yeah, Pat.
Couple pros were on that TNN team.
Yep.
So that's awesome, man. So you ended up getting, first in D3X that year. Did you guys end up, going further with it? Because I know eventually, there's a gap between TNN and now you're back with NYX. So kind of filling those gaps.
Well, that at the end of that year, that's when they said is Rob Nye. Rob Nye he doesn't play pro. He plays on Power now, but he's a fucking G. Like he could be playing higher than he is, but whatever. Shout out to Rob Nye. He's a fucking
sandbagger.
So TNN sort of fizzled out a little bit. I honestly can't even remember. We did like, I think it was 2012 was the last year that we did that, and then we were all just sort of playing around. And I think it was me, Greg, and Kraft were the ones left, still playing at Outback. And then it was a winter. Oh, Harrison Fry. Harrison Fry was on that team too. Forgot Harrison Fry came through TNN as well. And we were going up to I can't even Head Rush up. It's way out in the middle of nowhere, and playing a winter event. And that's where I met. I mean, I'd run into the Husseins Everybody knows them. You can if you don't know them, you heard them on the field somewhere arguing with somebody. You heard their voices somewhere.
Right.
And we were up there playing with a group of people I don't even remember now, and they needed bodies. So we woke up in the morning. I think it was Harrison, me, Greg, and then the rest of the guys from that team. I don't even know what the team was called, and we had to go out and we were playing against the 187 guys, and it went pretty well. And shortly after that, it was like that at the beginning of the next season. That's what, 2014 or something like that. That's when we decided to start running New York Outlaws. And we played a couple of not super successful seasons as the Outlaws, and then I honestly can't tell you what happened, because we didn't change like what we were doing. We didn't start all doing steroids or like working a lot harder. I just remember we kept like podiuming, and I was like, I don't get it, because we don't have the best work ethic. We don't have the best
dude, that's not what people want to be hearing out there.
Well, no. We got
lucky, dude. We weren't doing nothing.
In the past, I don't mean now. Now it's a different thing. Now we're athletic specimens and at the top of our game, etc. No, it was wild though. I think it was the first one that we won was Nashville in the NXL, and we were knocking at the door prior to that, where it was like we'd come in like 4th or 5th, or we'd be like, once we got into the top 6, top 7, something like that, it just got, we just kept inching closer and closer and closer. And then there was an event that I wasn't there, but I think they did pretty well. I think they took 2nd or 3rd at Chicago. I think I was getting married that weekend, so I didn't get to go. But I even still might have the timelines messed up, because that even now thinking about it, that doesn't really make sense. But it was a long few seasons where we were like this close, or just almost there. Right. And then once the floodgates opened, it just didn't stop. We just kept doing well. It was like unexplainable. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, and then you're on Outlaws. So at what point in time did that become Xtreme, or did how did that whole thing go about?
I mean, I'm always the last to know anything. I don't know. I assume somebody asked permission. Somebody got the call too. I mean, I'd always, when I was like a kid, in the NXL, when the Xtreme was a team before, of course, I always liked Xtreme. They're my local pro team. I would always, I'm always going to root for that team. So I always thought it would be, and I knew a couple of those guys were from the Northeast, so I knew a few of them. I mean, not personally, but I'd seen them play. It was they were the first pro paintball players that I had ever met. Were who would it have been? I don't know.
The Blonskis.
The Blonskis for sure. Yeah.
Mooner, Rosie. I mean, they were more like coaches back then.
I knew Rosie from, I had refed when I was reffing a 7-man, I believe. I refed MPPL. I think I knew him through that. He had set that up somehow. Scanlon? No, he's from the Hurricanes. Or from
but that was also a thing too, because NYX eventually became the Hurricane. Well, there's a little bit of mix. There was a little bit of mix.
All of the Northeast paintball is sort of incestuous. Like the teams just float around. People are everybody knows everybody. Everybody's played with everybody. And then, and even throughout, I think that's part of what was the rough road going through semi-pro was, and this is one of the things that I've always said about this team. I could strangle every one of them, because this team has pissed away more talent in the last 5 or 6 years than a lot of teams. I mean, even that I could talk about the good people that came through TNN, but if you go down the roster on New York's Xtreme of people we've lost, it's a pretty extensive list of talent that's come through that team and just didn't stick, didn't last. But I'm sure somebody's already done that with you before, so we don't have to go through it again. It's
we could. I mean, there's got to be some reason, like Joe Barrett, Harrison Fry,
Harrison, Greg,
I mean, that's just three right
Keith
DeVitt. Penny Carroll was on the team for
Penny
a bit.
Carroll as well. Yep. A ton of good people. I mean, and maybe they're not necessarily pro, but like really good players. Frank Spinelli is a hell of a player. Kyle Berry played on the team for a while.
Kyle was a boy. Kyle was one of our favorites. He was someone we did early on in this, and helped me out with a lot of stuff. Like I ran a paintball camp. He showed me what he did in Florida, and now he's in Denmark or Bulgaria or something.
Yeah, I heard he's coming back though. I think he's coming back.
At least to play Cup, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got a long history of either, I don't know if it's stepping on toes or if it's just too abrasive of a climate that it's just not always conducive to wanting to stay and spend your time and money. And
no, there's definitely something to be said. Like if you're trying to be really good at paintball, I mean, you got to be able to play year round, right? And you can't do that here.
Yeah, that's one of the things that always hurts the Northeast is that you can't. Vegas is always a shit show because I mean, even if you do get to, like in our situation, we might fly down to go play Damage or something. We'll go get a weekend or two in, but it's still, you don't have your gun in your hand. Even if you go to play reball somewhere, it's not the same thing as being out in the field. It's not the same thing.
No, we don't even have one on Long Island anymore. So it's like if it snows on Long Island, like we just don't get to play paintball.
Yep.
Shovel that shit, man.
Yeah, I know that'll breeds you tough. I mean, but I will say though, that's one of the things though that we might not get as long a season, but the time that we do get, like, I mean, all the teams from the Northeast by, I want to say Chicago, by the middle of they start to like stretch out, and like, the first event you can kind of consider that a wash. I mean, who knows? Teams from the Northeast might go out and do well. Anything can happen at a paintball tournament, but you get towards the middle and end of the season when your legs are under you and you're running pretty consistently and everybody gets a lot better. And if we just get bred tougher up here, maybe it's not Texas heat, like it's not like that. But if you're playing in the cold or you're playing in the rain, you have limited weekends. If it's raining outside, you're fucking playing. You're going to do it. Yep. So when you do get to a paintball tournament, when you do get to the tournament and the weather's shit, it's not so bad.
Place.
Yep. You might just get rained right before we won Nashville too. Right before we went on that field, it rained too.
Dude, rain might be your thing, dude. You might just be the rain man.
Well, I mean, everybody gets a little grimier in the rain too. I'm used to it. Pop in the clear lens, throw on a visor, throw a plastic bag over your hopper. You're good.
You're good to go. Yeah. No, so what was it like coming up through the semi-pro ranks with NYX and that whole grind, and then maybe like go into like what it felt like when you were told that they were going to go pro?
I didn't. All right, I don't want to start there. Yeah. So coming through, because at that time the semi-pro division was. I mean, I'm not going to hate on the semi-pro division right now. I played in it last at Vegas, and we didn't win it. We didn't crush everybody, but at the time it was like DMG, Uprising, Diesel, Elevation. Yeah,
the Bears.
The Bears, and the Bears were our nemesis. We would we got to practice with them. So every time we played them at the event, they had our
never number. Beat the Bears.
Never beat the Bears.
For sure.
Nope.
I know that for sure.
Never beat. Actually, no. What we did once at Cup. I think it was the first year that we were Xtreme. I think we beat the Bears at Cup. One time, or no, we tied them. That's what it was.
I'm just gonna say, man,
we didn't beat them. We tied them.
I'm pretty sure. I know because I saw a lot of chirping back and forth on a couple. I don't know if it was Instagram or something, but I think it was Frank. Right. I think Frank was saying something.
Never beat the Bears.
Never beat the Bears, dude.
Well, I mean, that was, but they were good practice because, like, I mean, first of all, like all those dudes, in Long Island paintball in general, it just like it's like a harder. I don't know the word for it, but
that's where we're from, bro. It's hard, bro. It sucks, man. There's only very few people here, and if we gotta go, there's nothing like going to New Jersey, it's an hour and a half in the morning to get to the field, and then it's 3 hours back because you're hitting that GW traffic. And then
Long Island's it's kind of an isolated zone, but the talent that's out there is pretty good because, like, what else are you going to do except work at what you're doing here? And the Bears were a great practice because they'd come up to Outback, and we would bang with them all day, and we'll be chirping and shit talking with each other, but it never turned into anything physical. It was never any real bullshit. It was just, it was always a good practice every single time.
Right.
And then we go out to the event and get fucking spanked because they're in our heads. Maybe not spanked, but they're in our heads. There'd always be tight games because nobody wants to screw it up because we're going to be shit talking each other after it. And then that has never played to NYX's advantage. It's never played that way. And as far as when I found out that we were going to go pro, I was like, this is fucking par for the course, because I don't understand how we keep getting rewarded for our behavior. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm not going to argue with it. I was like, all right, cool. And then I was like, all right, well, damn, I really wish we had won World Cup, because that's the last time we're likely to touch the podium for another few years. That was what went through my head. It was like, damn it, I wish we won Cup, because that would have been
the legs early great in the pro division, man. I mean, I choose a lot of teams and spits them out raw.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even at that, like, I think it's, if you go in to your first season of pro and expect to do anything, I mean, whatever, Aftermath is by far the outlier to touch the podium in their first season. That's few and far between that's ever going to happen.
Right.
If you go out expecting to do anything other than learn and like just take in as much information as you can, like, you're sorely mistaken. You shouldn't be doing that. That being said, it does put you in a position where, I think it worked for us. We were able to have fun with it, which was, I think, something that the league was kind of needing at the time too, because I mean, at the time we got in there, everybody is, at that level of paintball, everybody is putting everything they got into it, and it gets a little, not formulaic, but like, it gets a little stale when everybody just takes it really, really seriously. If you got, you got everybody's really
predictable play.
Yeah. It's really predictable, really safe. And then you have a team that we don't expect to win. We don't expect to, well, we didn't. Now we're getting into a different place, but like your first season, you shouldn't expect to win. You should go and just get as much in as you can, go take as many skulls. And even at that point, we were happy to, chop down like a top tier team, one event. We beat X Factor, and we were right in our game with Impact our first season. We had, of course, you're going to get a couple blowouts. The Russians are going to blow you out. You're not going to, but even at that, slowly but surely, we've gotten into a rhythm where we can bang with pretty much any team that's out there. I mean, which is good or bad, because we play up or play down depending on who we're playing against, whereas, like Houston Heat is playing their game, Russians are playing their game, their level all the time. But anybody can get it. I mean, which event was it when we beat the Russians by Wales Cup last year? That was,
yes.
We got, yes. I'm watching this game happen, and it's like, I'm in complete disbelief. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. The moment I saw it, you can see it in the video, the first point that Pat wins the one-on-one. You could like see me in the net just going off, because I was so pumped to see it happen. And then literally the rest of the game was like, oh my god, how was this happening? Yeah. And for something like that to, that's, I don't want to say it's like rewarding, because that's what you're there to do. You're supposed to win. You're supposed to be playing to win. But to go up against top level competition, and whether they didn't have a good game, or they got penalties, or whether we had the best game of our lives, whatever it was, to come out with the win on that is like huge, that's something that I'll never forget.
They're a legendary team, man. They've been at it for a long time. They're a legendary organization. They're what teams strive to be back in the day, with coaches, athletic trainers, and everything that they've had and put into that program. Like,
they're what every team should aspire to be. I mean, there are top tier pro teams that aren't putting in as much as they are. I mean, I'm not hating on Impact. I'm not hating on Heat. Nothing, not X Factor. None of those guys. But the athleticism, the thought behind it, all of it. Like, the Russians they're like the total package there. That's their job. That's what you get. That's what we should all aspire to as paintball players. Yeah.
No, for sure. Try and sell the dream, man. Like for real, right? Like, what is that? Wouldn't that be what any of us would love? Anyone listening to this show, and I'm sure you, if you were just like, hey, guess what, man? You know what? Everything. Here's a good living. Just fucking go out and be a
That's
killer.
not even a good living. Are you kidding me? You're like, I'll pay you 20 grand.
Yeah.
Like, all right, sold.
Sold.
Done.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, I'll start an OnlyFans. I'll figure it out, dude.
That's what Harrison does, right?
Yeah.
Nah, bro, his OnlyFans is whack now. He cut his hair, so I mean, subscriptions are down.
I know he's got. I cut my subscription because he lost the locks.
It's too funny. So, what do you think about like different formats of paintball? Like, how do you feel about like the one-on-one format coming out? I know Pat Kraft just played it not too long ago. Do you think it's good for paintball, bad for paintball?
I think it's all good. I mean, whatever you want to do to try to change it up. I like the ultimate shootout. I played when Harrison Fry was practicing to go do it. We ran a simulation of it, so we just set up a couple of things, and somebody called out which one was the hot button or whatever. And that adds an extra dimension to the game that I wasn't really sure about, like watching it. But when you're playing it, it's pretty fun. Personally, I like the how regular the if they're all Aztecs like that, like the whatever that version is, the Pro Tour. I like that personally because I like the gunfight out of an Aztec, and I like how regular it is. And it's kind of simple to watch, but in general, the X-Ball format is what I want to play. I mean, if I had it my way, what I would like to do is what's the game time right now? If it's like what 15 minutes matches. I'd like to double it, make it into
two
halves, just like old AXBL was, where you have you're on one side, you mash as many points, 15 minutes worth of points on one side, halftime switch. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But what I do see out of like the event that Harris and Jeremy Sam put on, shout out to them for that because that was awesome. A smaller league, obviously the NXL can't do that. There's the division's too big, the tournament's too big. Obviously that wouldn't work, but a format like that would be, I think that would make for better it's a better match structure. That would be I think it's easier to sell that to somebody who's never seen the game before, where you can see team A versus team B go and they just run it like that with lines like hockey. It allows for a bigger roster, more people to play. That
big
kind of
guys
thing.
The big guys that have the money can play more.
Yep.
That's what that's what I feel with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're the ones that have the money, man. That's why I think this mechanical thing's going off, because the older dudes that got the money that can pay for the young, fast kids, they can play in the back trees a little bit longer.
Yep.
And that allows, everything to go.
Well, I mean, and that's one of the things about the sport in general is it's diverse and it's really inclusive. Like anybody, a body type can play it. Like these, little fast guys are just as good, as not better, as big fat guys. You just find a position to play. So why don't we lean into that as a sport and be like, all right, well, let's try to make this more, if we could find a way to make the mechanical stuff visually a little bit better. It's kind of hard to shoot it. It's kind of hard to record it. I've watched it. Whatever. I'm starved for paintball content. Whatever paintball is on, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch whatever it is. Yeah. But as far as selling it to other people, I think that the X-Ball format is the way to go. But like a true X-Ball is I've always had a sweet spot for that. I played 7-man, played Woods. I've played pretty much everything. I haven't done anything mech recently, but it looks super fun. Obviously, I would love to do that. But I like the 5-on-5. There a lot of the way that we're doing with the NXL is right. I just there's always things to be left. There's always things left to be desired.
No, it's got to be tweaked. And back to what you were saying before, like I think honestly to like film a Woods ball game is kind of impossible. Like
it's impossible. Yeah.
You need a cameraman for like each dude pretty much.
Well, I mean, in paintball, I mean, it's one of the problems with trying to shoot a conventional paintball match like at an NXL event. What is it usually? There's the 2 end cams, there's the boom, there's a couple shoulder cams. You almost need as many cameras as you have refs I did really like at the Ohio event, and I mean this is fairly recent technology to use a GoPro that's live broadcasting, but I think that's another aspect that's going to be big for this game.
Yeah, no, I think like once they can start doing that, like I think it was Play the Game where I heard Marchkey from HK saying that the HK is developing like a little tiny camera that's meant to go in like that nose part of your loader. So
so it doesn't obscure your view.
Right, and it's like super tiny, you know, whatever the size of like a penny or whatever, and then like Bluetooth it and just go to that feed, and you could see what that player is seeing. I think if they could somehow work that, and like that's a game changer.
I mean, and if you could take that and say increase the tape delay, so that you could have, so say you have a really close trade, and you could use those cameras to be like, all right, we'll settle that. Like this guy spun. We don't have a good camera on the side to see it, but we can clearly see it through this. If you can take all that information and make the game, I mean, I want to say fair because it's generally pretty fair. There's going to be calls that screw you over. That's part of the game. It's part of the thing. It's part of the thing that I love about the game is that it is kind of ethereal. Like it can happen. Anything can happen. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
but that would add an aspect to it that would be good.
No, I think it would, and I would bring up a lot of football references, but like if you're watching a football game and there's like a fumble on the play, bro, that thing is paused, it zoomed in, and you could see like, and yeah, that might blow some people's spot up in paintball, but and at the end of the day, it's more content.
Well, it's more content, and again, the ref's call on the field is what's going to stand. So like you see it all the time. Somebody gets away with something. I saw it a ton at the Ohio event. People getting away with shit. And even if you acknowledge that and be like, yep, he got away with one, move on. The refs didn't catch it. Good for him. Like that's part of the game and everybody knows it. So lean into that. Let that stuff, I mean, I'm not saying let people cheat, but like you're never going to get everything. You can't catch everything. So acknowledge it and make it a part of the game.
Right. Hey, and it's all fodder. Hey, like you said, you were talking about it. Now we're talking about it on this podcast. Like, you know what I mean? If there's like a bunch of like questionable calls, just like in football, dude, those guys get roasted on Monday mornings. Roasted.
Well, yeah, especially because, even if you get the call going your way, if there's like proof of it, like, that's good. That's good. That's how you learn. You watch tape, you learn. That's part. There we go.
Dang, good. We're back.
And you're always going to make half the people mad. Like, let's just say if it's whatever, like Dynasty versus Iron Man. If the call doesn't go in the Iron Man's way, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Even if it was the right call, I'm still going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, of course. No matter what happens, it's going to, But
man, what are you going to do? So, like you said, you haven't played like too many mechanical events, but like I said, looking into the future, it looks like you're going to Cup, hopefully. Yep. So, I mean, that's got to be awesome to finally get back into it. Got to be
very excited to get back out there. Yep. I mean, from where this year started, I mean, I'm not going to say that I wasn't bummed that I wasn't going to play with NYX this year, but then I'm so thankful that I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try to play no matter what. So I reached out to the Wolfpack guys and they said, yeah, come on out. So I went down to play with them, played that event, and thank fucking God I did because the rest of the season was a wash. And I don't know what I'd be doing right now if I hadn't played that event because I probably wouldn't have done shit for the rest of the season. I would have been, wouldn't have, well, that's not true. I would have played, but I wouldn't have had much incentive to play. But when I, especially coming off of the last few years, I mean, it's the same for everybody on the team. Anybody who plays on Outlaws or NYX, every single person was one of the guys on their team that they're playing all the time. And to go from being one of the guys who plays every single point to having to be a role player, and I will admittedly, I'll say it, it's no shade on anybody. It's hard to come off the bench in the middle of a game, 2-3 points into a game, and you get into a rhythm, at least I did, where if you go out and you don't perform, like you play safe, you play boring because you don't want to screw up, because if you go out and get shot off the break, you might not get back in that game. And it really affected my game, not being able to get into a rhythm. I definitely heat up the more, I mean, everybody does. You heat up the more points you play.
No, for sure.
And so then to go out and play with the Wolfpack guys, and they already have their core group of guys, and plugged me in as a 2 on the D side and just let me run until I was exhausted. And it gave me some serious confidence. Like, hey, I can do this. I can play. I can do this. I can play the paintballs. Yeah. We've had plenty of practice. I mean, we've got recordings of it up there, like playing with the Russians. We've practiced with other pro teams. I've had, I can play with anybody. I'm not scared to play against anybody. I don't give a fuck who you are. I'll play paintball against anybody. But there's a different level of pressure at an event, no matter what division you're playing in. It's always going to be a little bit more, the way I like to put it is, I don't care. Matt's Outback is my home field, always will be. I don't care who you are. If Dynasty flew in to play that field, I'm going to smash you on that layout. At that field. That's my home field. I could play anybody there. I could play. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You get to an event and it's a little, maybe it's the travel, maybe it's you're sleeping in a hotel, maybe it's, just, all the people around or whatever it is. Right. There's always a different level of pressure at a national event. And I like doing it. I've been doing it for, I wouldn't still be doing it if I didn't like doing it. But right. It's just it's a different thing that I really like to do. I like to keep trying.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. I don't know, Waldo, you got any more questions?
So I know we're bringing it, we're kind of more up to current, but bringing it back. So I know you mentioned that event that, Joe's Barrett's brought up, Kraft's brought up, a lot of people brought up that indoor, I think Kyle Barry was also there, but that indoor event that you guys ended up, that becoming the catalyst to join the team or to make the team or anything like that with the Outlaws. I don't even know where I was going with that, man. I don't know. Sorry, man. I didn't even know where I was going with that, dude. I don't even know where I was going with that, but just kind of, wrapping things up or anything like that. I know you kind of got, like an Oliver Lang vibe, kind of going on behind you and everything like that. Is Oliver, was Oliver an influence of yours, or, is that, who hasn't?
That's if Oliver Lang's not one of your, it's like saying you don't care about Michael Jordan. Fuck out of here. Right. You're a liar. You're a liar. Because I'm 34, and I think they're probably a year or two older than me. I remember when these kids were, first it was the Iron Kids, and I'm reading Action APG whenever it came out, and I'm seeing these kids who are like, a year or two older than me, who are turning into the best players in the world, which it's sort of at the time, like it upended everything because it was all the old guard playing. Everybody was, it was all the old guys were the best guys. And here come these little fucking rats and they're just beating everybody up. They were the ones who, they were the first people that I saw because they had the shockers, and everybody prior to that was using drop forwards and had that weird weird lean to it. And then they come out and they've got what looks like conventional style paintball. At the time it did. It doesn't. If you go back and look at it now, obviously it looks a little bit worse. But the guns were 10 pounds heavier back then. So, but I remember seeing that, and it changed the entire way that I thought about the game. Maybe not specifically Oliver Lang. Obviously he was the one that he's my favorite at the time, but just that whole crew of people was it woke up something in me that I was like, all right, well, it's not the bigger, older guys, it's not college guys and adults that are playing this game. This is kids that are making them look like fools and winning everything and killing it.
Right.
So of course that was a huge influence. Who else from back then? I always loved to watch. Oh man, I'm gonna butcher it. Don't. I can't even remember. No.
That was like you're like, wait, no, I'm not even. Nope.
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. Prior to that, it was like going back to Push. Was Rocky Cagnoni was the one who I saw, and I was like, yes, that guy right there. It was fun. It was just fun to watch. Like it wasn't. you can't always catch what everybody's doing, especially in, you look at it, you can't see the paint in the air. You can't necessarily hear what they're saying to each other or understand what their strategy is at the time. But to see, this little guy with wild hair running over and jumping over a bunker and dunking on people,
dude,
makes it fun to watch. Yep.
Iconic, dude. That was in APG, actually. Now that you're saying APG, him over like the hyperball tube.
Yep.
Mugging the dude.
Yep.
Iconic.
Taking his lunch money.
Well, it's really funny now because when I talk to, if you talk to somebody like, if I show old paintball videos to Pat Kraft, he's like, these guys are all fucking bad. I'm like, no, I'm like, you don't even understand you don't understand what the game was back then. It was totally different than what it is right now. The gun shot different, like the paint shot different. It was, they're heavier. The material, everything was just less reliable than what we have now.
Yeah, it's funny you even like, you say that because like we got friends like that, and even bringing up the the older, the Mooners, the Rosies, and those dudes, because Travis plays on Ground Zero, which they're playing the mechanical stuff. That's the precursor to New York Xtreme, which you're on now, and he's playing with those guys, Mooner and Rosie and them, and we got some of our guys like you're saying, like you're watching them. They're like, we were pro, and then like you got like the guy on our team, good friend of mine, Chris. He's like, bro, you guys were pro when it was like you're shooting 10-round tubes with pistols. Like that's not athleticism. Like they're like, we'll fuck you up. You never been a pro. Blah blah blah. Whatever,
Don't say that. You don't say that.
Yeah. Dude, Rosie's made me wear it a couple times, plenty of times actually.
I mean, but again, that's why I love this game. Is that I'm going to play this game until my knees rot out. Like and until I physically can't do it, and even then, I'll still probably be there shooting out of the back, doing something, because I'll always be able to communicate and talk to you and visualize a field. I might not be running down the field, but I'll
default to the home.
Dude, wheel me out there. Wheel me out there, dude.
Yep. I mean, wheel me out there. I've seen that dude who's, he was in a wheelchair. And they wheel him out, and he plays home.
One?
Yes, and he's no. I've seen that guy at the events. There's another guy who plays, and he literally crawls into his spot. And I'm like, that's what this sport fucking needs. It's inclusive. It's anybody can do it. I was over at Outback. This is actually at the States Cup, and I saw a friend of mine, my buddy AJ's girlfriend was there. And I said hi, and I was like, "Oh, is AJ here?" And she was like, "No," but she was geared up, and it didn't put it together until the end that she was playing on an all-girls team, and that was the first time I'd seen an all-girls team playing at Outback, and I was like, "Fuck yes, that's what we need. We need more of this, not just because there aren't enough chicks at paintball, but like because all around the sport should be open to everybody. Anybody can do it."
No, for sure. You're so right. You're so right. So,
dude, I mean, that's a great way to end it right there, man. Paintball is for everybody. It's all inclusive. Now, Josh, I mean, this is where we usually allow you to, plug sponsors or plug anyone you want to thank. So rattle it off. And if you forget anyone, don't worry, because you just come on again.
Oh, yes, excellent. Yes, maybe I'll come into the studio. We'll do it live next time.
Perfect.
Let's go.
All right. So let me see. Obviously, I'm new to the team. HK, Freak,
Rise
Virtue, Rise Customs, yes. Obviously, Bo Milo, Harris, the boys, everybody from there. Matt's Outback, CCZ, Three's Brewing. Give me beer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've forgotten other people.
Yeah. Like I said, you just have to come back. We'll share some more stories, dude.
Absolutely.
The one thing I love about like doing this whole thing is even if we talk to somebody once, we're making new stories every weekend, man. I'm balling out this weekend. I'm sure you're balling out somewhere this weekend.
I'm going to remember some stuff as soon as I push in on this, the stuff that I should have brought up.
Yeah. No, and exactly, dude. We'll just come back and, bro, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be doing this for the next 15 years, 20 years, hopefully.
Hey, and thanks to you guys too. This is fucking good that you guys are doing this, man. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, we just want to tell people stories. I think we were sitting around one day, me and him were just like, what if something happens to somebody like Rosie and his stories are never told? He's someone I'm trying to get on here, but like,
never heard of it.
Yeah, trying to get Rosie to do one of these is, I don't need to go into that. But I would like, he's a dude, like, I want to get him to tell all the cool, he has so many cool stories. Every time I see him at a practice, he's telling me a different one. And
Dude, just record it when he's not listening. Just record it, dude.
I know, you just got to get it in, just get it out there so people can hear it.
Yeah, but exactly.
Right.
But thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for the two sponsors we had for this, Izanda Sports and Volcano USA. And yeah, thank you guys again for tuning in. We love you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you very much.